Okay, right, let's start this. Could everyone let me know in the chat if they can hear me okay, and I'll carry on if they can. I think there's a slight lag, so I'm just waiting on answers. Okay, can everyone hear me? Just let me know in the chat if you can. Okay, perfect. Okay, I'll just crack on. Right, so let's start. How are we going to go through this stream? I'm going to try and keep this shorter than the last one, but I think everything is important to cover. So let's just get on with it and go through. But firstly, we're going to start with the on-chain stuff. So what this will do is this will tell you the actual data behind the Bitcoin and how the flows are moving, and therefore what should your level of conviction be in terms of putting money into crypto, or how much money you should put in per trade. It can be anything along those lines, but this should be the indicators you use for your level of conviction of how you're going to play this next 3 to 6 months or even longer. Again, I still do have a little bit of a cough, so apologies about that, but yeah. So on-chain metrics, then we'll move on to the watch list, and then we'll move on to placing some orders that if I am right, and if I do think what's going to happen will happen, our orders should fill and we'll be in positions at good prices. So let's start with the on-chain stuff. Okay. So this is the exchange net position change. This is the amount of Bitcoin inside exchange wallets. So green, which we can see with the price action here back in 2017, which was the all-time high of 20K. Green shows that lots of people are moving their Bitcoin into exchanges to sell. So green spikes is a bad sign. Green spikes suggest that people are selling their Bitcoin, supply will now begin outweighing demand, and therefore we don't want to be holding this anymore. Red is the complete opposite. So this is from, as you can see from the bottom, 2016 to now, and red is still pretty good. Even at the all-time highs, we still had people buying it. We still had the accumulation there, which tells us that more Bitcoin is leaving exchanges than is being left on the exchanges. Now, this will basically mean that the miners will be looking at this, the exchanges, the actual people who run the exchanges, even though this will sound slightly corrupt, they will be looking at this and working out how much of the supply is actually left out there. When it comes down to a reasonable level, I'm not sure what the level is, it's only the insiders that are going to know this. It might be, say, 5%, 10%. I'm not sure. It could be anywhere in there. But they might say, when it gets to 5%, we're going to stop putting heavy shorts on the market to bring the market down, and we're going to let people just buy in. And as normal people buy in, really there's only 5% or say 10% of all the Bitcoins in circulating supply actually available to buy. So as soon as people start coming in and taking up this 5%, really you only need 1/20th of the volume needed to move the market, because 95% of the Bitcoins are held amongst the miners, the exchanges, and the long-term holders. So seeing these red spikes are really, really positive for us to see, and would indicate that we should go a lot higher, especially as it comes down to that level where the miners and the exchanges will hold on to their Bitcoin and will just let normal people come in and buy the very, very few remaining that is actually available to buy, because the rest of it is still held amongst, myself, long-term holders, exchanges, miners, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so moving on from this, we're going to look at what if there is selling, who is the selling being done by? We want the selling to be done by the the short-term holders. This would indicate the traders are the ones that are responsible for the selling, because then this would then mean that the long-term traders, who are historically the most profitable cohort, are holding on to their coins. Now, we want to see that. The indication for us that we might start selling our coins would be when the long-term holders begin actually selling theirs. So we want to see the coin days destroyed to have very few spikes, for it to be low in spikes. So this is great to see. As we can see back here, this is when the big fall off happened. Everyone is selling here, literally everyone. The coin days destroyed in spikes means that for any given transaction is calculated by taking the number of coins in a transaction and multiplying it by the number of days it has been since those coins were last spent. So the older the coins that are being spent, the bigger the spike. So we want to see very few spikes, because that would indicate that all the coins being transacted are young coins rather than old coins. The old coins being moved would indicate that the long-term holders are starting to sell their coins, and therefore we no longer want to be holding ours, because that might be the case at the top it's in. But this here is really nothing to be worried about. In fact, it's far less than even this part here back in mid-July 2019, which saw us do that sort of brief relief rally and then come all the way back down. So I don't know if any of you were here when this happened, but the sentiment wasn't big, it wasn't ridiculous, and it certainly is nothing close to what it is now. And we're not seeing anything close towards long-term holder selling. Another few metrics that support all this is on Wellmap. So let's start with the large wallet inflows. Hopefully it reloads and sorts itself out. Okay, so back to 2017, nothing, no big blue bubbles. The blue bubbles indicate whales buying, so 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin purchases. They indicate the whales are buying at those points, and those whales have still not sold. So the blue bubbles, if someone had bought at these points and sold their coins, these blue bubbles would no longer exist. They'd be taken off the map, just so you can get sort of a context understanding as to how significant this is. So look back in 2017 at 20,000, really close to nothing. All the way through here, nothing. Now look at this. This is mental. Even up here, look at the bottom right-hand corner. You're seeing 19.5 thousand, 17,000, 34,000, 15, 16, 35, 6, 24, 7, 30,000. You'll see an awful lot of Bitcoin being bought up on the exchanges and this is being bought by the biggest cohort. So 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin purchases. I mean, if you're buying in at 62,000 with 1,000 Bitcoin, you're effectively spending $60 million. So these are the big boys that are buying this, and look at the level of buying that is in there. So this should indicate to you that the big boys are currently buying, whilst retail is still sort of sat on the side. There's not huge chatter about it. Yeah, you get some of the meme coins like Shiba and all that sort of stuff, but most retail is still sat on the sides. The time, I would say a good indicator, and this is something that is hard to actually judge, but a good indicator to sell when the top is actually in is when you go down the pub on a Friday or Saturday night and friends that just aren't in crypto starts talking about wanting to invest. That's usually the time that you should then be looking to sell some of your bags. But whilst this is going on here and normal people aren't really fussed or talking about it, you can carry on accumulating like what the big boys are doing. Another thing to look at is large transactions. So the blue spikes indicate the amount of transactions between $5 million and $7.5 million in value. So we're seeing up here, look how big the blue spike is at a price of, I'm not sure, say 60 odd thousand. We're seeing huge amounts of money still coming in. And again, this is, normal people don't have between $5 and $7.5 million to spend on Bitcoin. But over here, you had over, I don't know, maybe 2,000 different transactions at that value. So you can see that I'm talking about huge amounts of money pouring in, and they're coming in large transactions. Let's just scroll to 20 plus million. I'm hoping the bottom right corner is, yes, even here, you had, say, 1,250 different transactions, which were worth more than $20 million. Now, look, these aren't normal people. And look, this is spiking up, starting to slow down, but it's very high. It's the highest it's ever been. If I can scroll out, look at 2017. Compared to the size, you're looking at maybe 300 transactions at its rough peak to say 1,200 now. So you're looking at 4 times the volume from the big boys. Now, this is all really, really significant stuff in terms of giving you your conviction of how you want to trade all this. How much, say, I don't know what you've got in savings, but say you have 2,000 in savings and you thought I'm going to put $500 into Bitcoin. You might now be sitting there thinking, well, what other opportunities are as good as this, where I can really view the data of what the big guys, the hedge funds, the institutions, what are they doing? And I can now actually align myself with them. So if you can actually align yourself with them, you might now be saying, well, from my $2,000 in savings, I actually might want to put $1,200 in. So these metrics should be giving you your level of conviction of how you want to play the game for the next 3 to 6 months. So let's forget the metrics for now and move on to the charts. Okay, so starting with Bitcoin. We can see that the yellow buy box played well, but we were wicked out here. On my personal account, I have stop losses at 62,800. So I was wiped out here as well, which is okay. It shouldn't usually react. Look, here you have a wick in and a bounce out. Let me see if there's others here. Wicks in and bounces out. That's even if you get the wicks in at all. See, sometimes you miss them, but when I see this and I see this, I know I've missed it then really at that point. I'm praying it's going to come back in and wick down. But the way the strategy works is you get these fast wicks in and a rebound out quickly because there should be huge level. This is the same strategy that the miners and the exchanges will play. So this is where they're loading up their bags, in these sort of places. Here, they might have been doing it with, I don't know, maybe a 20th of their usual size, and they'll just take profits. And this may be the reason we're seeing Bitcoin not fly and the accumulation is still continuing. They might want to see a Bitcoin fall all the way into here, and then all of a sudden they'll reload on everything they've got. They'll probably borrow more money to reload, and then they'll probably let the bull run just continue massively. But I think here we seem to be breaking at what it looks to be a bit of a flag. I've not drawn it, I've just drawn the downtrend channel. We could come all the way down to 60 watt to the late 60,800 sort of level. But ideally, I'll be placing my long orders to hit my personal account. My long orders will be going in this yellow and green box. That's where I'm looking. Again, sorry about the cough. Right, Ethereum. So this is the main buy box for Ethereum, but to be honest with you, I don't think we're getting there. I think we could easily get here, if assuming I'm right and things go down, because if we look at, this is our account, which we're doing the 2K challenge with. So I've gone on to the futures for Bitcoin. Hopefully when it loads, right. Look, we're looking at a 0.45% funding rate. Now this is extremely high. And I made a few notes before in the past in the channel about when funding gets very high, that we should be very careful about longing Bitcoin. When the funding is this high, this means that the longs are paying the shorts every 8 hours, 0.045% of whatever is in their trade to the shorts to keep their longs open. So when this rate gets higher and higher, this encourages the professional traders to short Bitcoin because they're going to profit from the funding rate that comes in for, just over 4.5 hours. But what this does is it brings the futures price level with the spot price. So when this is high, you need to be very careful. And we're seeing this bit of a flush out because the futures rate is so high. Now, if we're expecting Bitcoin to go from, say, 64, maybe down to 56, I wouldn't even be expecting that. I would say that would be great if it happened. I'd love to load up there, but I think the chances might not be huge. But I think in terms of going to maybe 60, 61, I think it's very possible. But that would be a 5% pullback. So here, if that's the case and it shows some strength, this might be a great place to load up on Ethereum. Let's look at Litecoin. So Litecoin's creating a bit of a flag. I would consider loading up here in this yellow box, but it's sort of had its run. There's better opportunities than Litecoin for now. If you're a big lover of it, then for sure, load up in the yellow box. As I said, guys, I'm going to try and keep this quick so it doesn't, last 45 minutes like it did last time. FTT is creating a bear flag. I'd be very surprised if it didn't go, if we did have a pullback in Bitcoin and we didn't see FTT around the $52, $53 mark, where I'd expect it to hold. And this is where I'd be looking to add. Now, FTT is a great project to have. Sorry, it's a great coin to have because the overall exchange is so good that professional traders use it. We saw with Binance Coin, it was very low in value and had a huge surge upwards. Now, FTT has also had a huge surge upwards, but nothing like what Binance Coin has had. So this is potentially, I think, when retail comes in, even though retail won't use FTX that much because the exchange is slightly more complicated, this still will have a massive rise. So that's why I look at this one to sort of accumulate more at different points. And I really do place focus on this coin. Right, Solana. Again, Solana has come up lots. I wouldn't be adding in this top one. I would forget about it, even though Solana is such a good project you could do, but I would be looking to add here and be placing more orders in this bottom yellow box here. Yeah. Back here, you're talking about maybe sort of 25, 30% pullback. So this might be the better area to do it. But if we go back to Bitcoin, we might have a situation like this. So here we went up to the 52,000, which was the main orange box, the main resistance for the whole move, for the whole top to bottom. So then we saw this huge leverage flush out from late 50, all the way into that flag, and another crash down. Now I wanted to fill in here. The target was sort of up here, was there. So we might get something like this, a sort of pull back down, step up, bigger pull back down. So it's 2 steps back, 1 step up, 2 steps back, and then a break through the main downtrend line, and you get this surge. So we may see something like that. We may see a move into here, a move back out, and then move down here. This will then create a big red downtrend line, and that might be the sort of candle formation we need for it to explode from there. So that's my idea. That's what I'm thinking. But let's move on from Solana onto Matic. Right, so Matic is one I'm actually interested in potentially adding to. But you can see it's in this pennant here. It can break. It should really break up, but it could also break down just because Bitcoin is perhaps slightly siding with the more bearish side at this moment in time. But when I say bearish, it's only bearish maybe for 3, 4, 5 days. As we look to the on-chain stuff, the on-chain is still like incredibly bullish. So you want to be finding areas where you can load up. And this is why I haven't been so heavy in the trades, because once areas have been filled, and on Bitcoin, certain areas haven't been filled yet. So you need to see these big wick downs into the yellow boxes, fill them. This will be the market makers and the miners filling their positions. Once those places have been filled, they then let the market go. They're not having short pressure on anymore. They just let the market go up. They've done all their accumulation that they want to do. And it's been probably since that main downtrend we last saw, we haven't really had a big fill of a yellow box yet. So I do feel like one has to come. And that's why I've been sort of shy on making trades, because I'm still expecting a further pullback before we have the big surge up. So Matic is one that I'm potentially thinking of adding. I'll probably add in the yellow box. As you can see, we've already had a slight fill, but we might get a move into here. That might also then create a bullish divergence from this wick here. But let's see what we get. For now, I'm just going to leave it alone. ADA created a bear flag. I'd expect it to fill in the green box at $1.84 to $1.80. Right, Doge is another nice one, and it looks, as you can see, a few of them are looking similar. Doge looks very similar to Matic. Big downtrend, small uptrend. Some of them are making the bear flags. So it's very interesting to see what we get here. If we get Bitcoin sort of consolidation and bounce, then it might be worth entering in these, in Doge, Matic, these sort of coins, because they will likely go this way. If we get the breakdown and they break this yellow line, we could get a bigger pullback. So Chainlink is one I'm going to add, and I'm going to add it. I'm going to add, so what we have now in the margin account is this. Sorry, it's in the fiat and spot account we're playing. So we have approximately $1,500 in this account, and we've spent 750 on it, 750 of it on Matic, Compound, Sushi, and Doge, and Aave. Now, I said in the last stream, the coins I've been looking to add would be Link, BNB, and DOT, and maybe some more Matic. Now, Matic does look pretty good. So I'm going to add 12.5% of the $750 that's remaining, or in this case, 837. I'm going to put 12.5% of it into Matic, and I'm going to put it in potentially in this box. But what I may do is I may actually not do that, and I may just hold the tether on the side for now. But the one I am looking at is Chainlink, and I'm going to put 30% of the money into Chainlink in these orders. So what I'll do is I'll go up here. I type in Link. I've got $837. So I want to spend 30% of that. So you're looking at about 83 times 3 is 24, say call it 249, call it $250. So we're going to go trade. Link USDT. I'll do the first one with you, and then I'll tell you how much I'm going to put into each other coin in the boxes, place the orders, and you guys can sort of do it yourself. But Link is now loading up for the actual exchange. Our orders are between 28.60 and 27.60. 28.60 and 27.60. So I've got $250 to spend. So what you want to do is you want to be placing orders. So we're going to go limit orders, 28.60, and we've got $250 to spend, but we're going to do 3 orders. We're going to do one at 28.60, 28.10, and 27.60. Now, ideally, you want each one to be bigger on the way down, so that the more orders fill, the lower your average entry cost will be. So 28.60, we're going to fill, let's say if we do $50, then 100. No, we're going to do, yeah, let's do that. So it's going to be in dollars. So type down here 50, and that'll get us 1.74 Link. And you'll see the order will come up down here. Now we're going to do a price of 28. So when it goes down to 28.60, or if it goes down to 28.60, this will fill and will be in, having bought 28.60 rather than buying it now at 32.64. So 28.10, we're going to spend here $80. Place the order. Got it here. So far in total, we spend 80 and 50. We lose out a bit in commission because you have to pay the exchange to put the trade on for you, basically. So we've got $130 and then we've got $120 left. I'm going to do it at a price of $27.60. I'm going to do $120. Buy links. These orders are all there now. We'll reassess them in the next stream and see how they go. But we've placed them at those prices because it matches my boxes here. So, and I'm putting 30% of the money in Chainlink. I'm leaving 12.5% of the remaining money, which was $837 on the side. But I want it for Matic, but I'm going to leave it on the side for now because we don't really have enough information yet, or good enough information yet, to calculate accurate boxes that we can then use to place the orders. So another one which is really interesting. So I'm going to go through ones I like, we're going to add orders to, and ones I also don't like. So OMG is really interesting here. If this breaks down here and breaks down the yellow line, you can see this crash down to 8. So this yellow line, it's held, for months, for like a very long time. So this will be very interesting to see how this bounces here. And you can see with a lot of the other coins, they were making bear flags here. So they had this big wick down, they were coming up, coming up, coming up, and there was like a bottom border, and they're now breaching underneath it. This one hasn't even done that. It's just sort of had a slight rebound, come straight back down again, and retesting. It's not even created the flag formation. So this is even more bearish. But was it Matic flag? No, Ada. So Ada was creating a flag. as you can see, where the OMG came up like this, down, down, and just dribbled even further down. It didn't create any sort of higher lows, but this is what this is doing. It's not creating the higher highs. So let's move on to BNB. This is another one I like. This is another one I want to add to. I'll let you guys fill in the orders yourself on Binance, because otherwise it would just take a long time. I'm trying to keep this video slightly shorter. But I'm adding between 540 and 518. So I would suggest do an order at 540, do an order at 529, and do an order at 518, and do more money on the lower orders, so that if each one fills, you get a lower average price. On BNB, I'm going to do 22.5% of the money. So on 837, it's approximately $170, give or take. So you're going to split $170 between 3 orders. Bitcoin Cash, let's take a look. Created a flag formation from a low, but this isn't from a real pullback. As you can see, it still held higher levels. So this one isn't as this pattern doesn't play out as often as perhaps some of the others that have created newer lows. But this had a sort of sizable run. So this one I would sort of lean for now. So the XRP, is this interesting? No, not really. Forget about that. So Sushi, we sold the rest of our positions. So I was noticing the flag on Sushi. And I also noticed on a few others, but Sushi was one of the ones that was sort of looked even weaker. So we had our average entry at 1044. We sold 50% position at 1149, and we sold the rest of the position this morning at 1091, I believe. I think it gave us an average sell price of about 1120, if I'm right. I can't remember now. But I think in total we made 7.275%. But yeah, this one looks slightly ugly now. I'd want to see it hold if it does break down. So this is what the example of the flag breakdowns look like. But this will likely have a continued move down here, assuming Bitcoin has a continued pullback. But who knows? Bitcoin might bounce and these formations might all be wrong. But it's very likely that with these all forming like this, they're going to have the retracement. It's quite a high probability pattern of playing out. So AVAX, we had a call in the group today. AVAX is just a really good long-term project. I'd say just dollar cost average into this over 3-4 years and just hold it, and this one will probably make you reasonably wealthy. Shiba, let's have a look. So I know some of you will be interested in it. Personally, it's created this pattern. It could do anything. Honestly, it could do it. It's pointless me even giving any analysis on it. I would say just go and ask your Nana for analysis. Like, she'll know just as much on this as I will. Yeah, it's just a mental coin. I've seen stats that it has something like 96% of all SHIB is held amongst 17 wallets. I think some of those figures might be incorrect, but I need to check the figures. But there's a huge amount of supply locked up by only a few wallets, which is never good, which is how you get these sort of big dumps like this and how you get the pumps also. But it can be good to ride, but as soon as those sort of few wallets that are holding all of it want to sell, this thing is, this is going to zero pretty much. Let's have a look at Luna. Is this interesting? No, not really, but Luna's held up really well.